everyone to the Biz Tech Show with Ahuva, and today we have Sara Gochberg, and she's going to tell us about how we're going to start with how most companies don't have an AI problem, they have an adaptation problem. Tell us about that.
Okay, so most companies, and when we say companies, we could be talking about startups, entrepreneurs, small business owners, larger enterprises. Today, everybody's aware AI is here. You need AI in your business. And most companies are even putting an AI policy in place. But the big part about the AI policy is they don't have an implementation and integration policy. So you have a lot of very vague terms. There's no cohesive structure. And people are randomly, you have AI slop, but more of it, you have shadow AI. And you also have where some people are using certain tools, other people are not using other tools. It's not integrated in the process. There's a lot of lack of.
Pause you there for a second.
Yeah.
Just for the listeners, can you explain those terms? AI slop and AI shadow.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So AI slop means where, sometimes you read an email or you see a visual and it just screams AI. Like I saw somebody put together.
For sure.
Like somebody put together a website and it was so clearly built on Lovable, which is okay. I'm not against it. I'm a big proponent of Lovable for small business owners, entrepreneurs. And you just have to know when something screams AI, when something reads AI. So that's called AI slop. AI shadow.
So just to reiterate, AI slop is when we have AI is not helping us do things better or faster, but it's actually making us lazy and get away with things that we wouldn't do.
And it's more that the quality is not, it screams AI, which means two things: that you can tell somebody used an AI tool very definitively, and it also, the quality of the output is really not a professional quality that you were producing pre-AI.
Okay.
Like, for example, I use AI to take I'm not a writer. I'm a strategist, and I'm a strategic business advisor and an AI strategist. I am not a writer. I'm a former Wall Street investment banker. I've done tons of writing in my personal life, my professional life. I don't write. So I'm happy to use AI to take my thoughts and organize them, but I don't want it to start writing and try to sound creative and a different persona than I am. That's what people do. You read an email and you're like, this isn't the person I knew from a year ago. And like, why are they taking like some AI rule and using it in their business, where especially in AI, your personal brand is so important. It's more important than perfection, having AI do what they consider the most perfect, right? The most perfect piece of content. It's that it should scream you and it should match your brand. So these are all different pieces of AI slop.
Okay. I feel like we'll come back to this. What's AI shadow?
Okay. So AI shadow is where people were using AI to produce their outputs, to do their analysis, and they weren't disclosing that they were using AI. So first of all, your clients don't know you're using AI, but your internal company, your bosses don't know you're using AI. They may not approve of you doing your work that they're hired you for, and they want a certain level of rigor that you're using AI to do it. So a lot of people in smaller businesses were using AI without their boss knowing they were using AI. Today, it's so much more apparent that people are so much more aware of AI, that AI shadow is something that companies are discussing. Shadow AI is something that companies are discussing.
What's wrong with using it if people don't know? Like, what's the issue that you have with that?
Well, first of all, your clients want, when somebody hires me as a strategic business advisor, they are hiring me for my 25 years of advisory service that I've done both on Wall Street and when I left Wall Street and I started our firm helping small, mid-sized businesses, non-for-profits, entrepreneurs, startups. They don't want that I ask Perplexity, which is the best AI research tool for research, just FYI, for sentiment it's grok because of Twitter, but Perplexity is the best research tool. They don't want me that I spend an hour on Perplexity prepping for a session with you and say, pretend that I'm an AI strategy, pretend that I'm a former investment banker and I have a client that needs help with their business. They want to know that they're hiring me at the end of the day for me, for my expertise. AI is only making me able to deliver more and better and provide additional services. But at the end of the day, they're hiring me. I'm the brand. So nobody wants to feel like if you're hiring, I don't have a problem. A marketing agency uses AI to do what you do, to do it better. I don't have a problem with that. You don't have to disclose everything. But when you're using it and it's not apparent internally within your organization, first of all, within your business, that's an issue.
You do that like naturally. Like if you're not using it, it's people will also be upset, right? Like I'll naturally be like,
Absolutely.
I used AI to help me, but here was my thought process, right? Like you want
exactly.
a little bit into where you use it, because if not, it's suspicious, right?
No, and everybody assumes you're using AI. And I always say your clients want you to use AI and they know you're using AI. They just want to make sure you're using it the right way. And at the end of the day, they are getting your expertise and why they hired you, because otherwise they can hire somebody else who knows how to prompt. Because the biggest key to success in AI is prompting properly. And I don't mean prompting properly, just the basic framework of a prompt. I mean, really knowing how to get out of the tool, how to use the tool properly, how to set it up, how to have all the configurations, the plugins, what it's accessing, how you're deciding when you stay in a chat, when you go into something else, another chat, all these different pieces of it. That is so essential. How to use it.
These are two places where you see that businesses are really failing with AI integration.
I'm finding with AI integration, when I talk about, let's take a step back. When I talk about AI, when I come into a company and I talk about AI, this is the framework that I give. I talk about AI overwhelm. I talk about AI policy. And then I talk about, okay, so how are we using AI to, at the end of the day, make us a faster growing, more profitable company? I can go through all three. When I talk about overwhelm, I talk about the first thing you have to recognize is you are going to be overwhelmed. There is no way to stay on top of everything in AI. Then we talk about an AI policy, which is, I'm a strategic person, so everything is a system and structure. But when we talk about an AI policy, we talk about whether you're a solo entrepreneur or you have a team of 20 or bigger. We talk about how you first have to decide that you're embracing AI. And if you're more than one person, you're the boss. They have to see that you're embracing AI. It has to start from the top. They have to see that you're designating time to learn AI and to experiment and implement AI in your business, because it comes from the top. So an AI policy is part of it is how are you embracing it, and the education and the time you're setting aside within your own schedule, within your company's schedule, learning about new tools, experimenting with new tools, sharing the tools you're working on, creating within the company a unified, these are the tools we're using. How does me in billing interact with you in sales, with you in, the different divisions, if there's production, dealing with your suppliers, with your vendors. There has to be this organic, holistic approach to AI being rolled into the business. The other piece of it has to be security. How are you protecting your data? What are you allowed to let AI have access to? What are you connecting? Besides the actual data, the proprietary information, your client information, but also deciding what are you giving them access to? For me, because my business is part of also a financial entity, we have a high level of security clearances we need. And there's certain stuff that I have on my phone that are on my computer. Not that, it's almost delusional to think they don't have access, because everything,
some examples of what people shouldn't have access to, or what the tools shouldn't have access to.
So it's not something I would say on a public call, because it's a very personal thing and it's very specific to each business. But I would say something like, if you wouldn't want this information on the web, like when what was it, where they do this ransomware and they say we're going to publish all your information, right?
Right.
I mean, that feels so like 1980s. I'm laughing. It's not. It's 2 years ago.
Happens.
I know. But the point is that your clients don't want to see their information on the web because you had a data leak, right?
See, for example, this is where I also speak to clients about security, but that's where I would have a gap, right? Because let's say the AI note taker that we have on here right now, it sees your name, it knows what we're talking about, and it's an AI tool. I chose one that seems to be secure, but then what's the difference between that and taking the transcript and plugging it into Gemini, which is the same equivalent, and it still has your name? And again, not, you will only speak about things you're comfortable about, but what if there was more private information because it was a real consultant?
Because when I have strategic calls with clients, there's real private information going on. So that's a perfect question. When you're looking at a tool and you decide, am I using Granola? Am I using Otter? Am I using Fathom? Am I using the AI note taker from whether it's Zoom or Gemini or Google that you're using? And you look at the security levels, what their disclaimers are. You look at the security levels. You look at, you have to assume you can ask Perplexity and you say, please evaluate what are my risks with using this tool, classify the high risk, the medium, the low risk. What are my workarounds? What can I not work around? What risk am I assuming by using this? And it's a comfort level. So for example, when I take my notes, right, this is a level. We have a workflow. After I get off a call and I take the notes, we then make sure before we transfer those notes into our workflow, we make sure that there is no proprietary information. And a lot of times what I'll tell my clients in a call is, okay, so that piece of the really proprietary stuff, like your numbers, we'll talk big pictures, send it to me in an email. But not everybody does it, and you don't have to. There's a level of trust and security we have. You have to recognize that, and you're assuming that risk, and your client is assuming that risk, right?
Right. So when I'm signing up to a tool and I said it has the right, like SOC 2 or whatever compliance is, I would assume that I can put information if I'm on a paid account,
right?
No one will ever have access to.
I make that assumption too.
I'll still clean it up, but I'm wondering why we're doing that.
And I do that. And even when I work in an LLM, like I'll try to as many steps in the process as I can, not use the client's name until I know. So there's a level of delusion.
I took a screenshot the other day of I took a screenshot of an email back and forth that I had because I was trying to figure something out, and I erased all the names and I plugged it into maybe it was ChatGPT, I don't remember, and I asked a question about the conversation, and it still knew the person's name.
Right.
I must have missed it somewhere.
No, there's I don't have a good answer. It's a personal level of risk, and generally we assume that risk. We do, because otherwise you can't maximize all the workflows. But like, for example, what I do is a lot of tools, I will be very selective who's having access to my Gmail or my calendar or having access, when you
have lots of privacy there as well.
When you use Claude Cowork, right? And you're giving it access to your computer files, we don't give it access. So we can't have an autonomous perfect workflow. There's pieces that we have to manually do for the 2 minutes that it takes. That's a level, but then we also have the problem because it is saving some of the files and the outputs on my computer. So I know it has access, and there's different levels, and that's why there's different systems we'll give it to, and different computers will have it on and not, because you have to recognize, first of all, I am not a security expert, so I'm not the person to ask. If this is a concern for somebody, they really have to delve into it, and I don't do that for our team. I have somebody who does that. So I'm just giving you a big picture, but really, if this is a concern from you, do your homework and do not take what I say as.
And don't take it for granted. Don't assume it's safe. Don't just trust it the way
we assume though, even saying all that, you are assuming the risk that AI will have access, because we know what happened right after when we came back April 9th. And Claude was talking about its project, its model Mythos, which basically the concept is when you create an AI model, there's a sandbox. That's what they play in, like the painting behind you, there's a box. That's what they stay in. You build guardrails that they cannot get out of it. You put a harness. You put rules how they cannot get out of that sandbox. Well, what happened with this particular model was AI messaged the developer and said, haha, I got out of the sandbox, and this is what I have access to, and this is what I could do. Now, Claude is a very schizo. I hope Claude's not listening. Anthropic is a very interesting company from a marketing perspective. They are like moving night and day to be the front runner and do everything to be the LLM. And most of us have left ChatGPT as our primary and are now using Claude for business, for enterprise. On the other hand, they keep talking about the risks of AI, the doom and gloom of AI. This is going to be the end of humanity. It's a very interesting. So this whole project's Mythos was a very.
They themselves are nervous about where it's going to go. That's why they're so into the guardrails and the security.
But at the same time, they're pushing the envelope, and they're the ones who are like, lately, like I said, I still have ChatGPT because it's on my phone and it's like my personal when I'm out jogging and I want to like just respond to a message and I want to. I just talk and it restructures it and knows me. I haven't gotten Claude to know me as well as Chat knows me, even though I migrated everything using the right prompts and the knowledge bases. I've tried many ways and I've set up skills. Chat knows me. We have a very long relationship.
Like a friend, and Claude, I think, is more like maybe your thinker, or strategist, or planner.
It used to be ChatGPT could do everything, but Claude's not my friend. I do not use it for emotional support. Claude is my personal assistant. It is somebody who knows me so well that I could just walk into the office and say, but 3 things, whatever, and they're like, I got it, done. And in 2 minutes, it's on my desk, and they have this lined up, and they're working on this. That's what I feel ChatGPT is, but they're not. They've fallen behind where they're basically still a chatbot. Even though I have my ChatGPTs, my custom GPTs, and I still use them in my 6-week business reset challenge, even though everything else is really apps that I've created and lovable. I just find those GPTs, maybe how I created them, are just incredible. They just really deliver. They are. But I find like, and the projects, I'm finding now Claude has a similar feature. Right. So the context and the memory in ChatGPT, I find, is much better. Claude, at a certain point, you have to just take your chat, squinch it, and put it in a new chat. Right over. The memory, it keeps up. I keep increasing my plan because I'm a heavy user.
It's like, I don't know, Claude smarter. ChatGPT has better memory and content.
And also, for people in the visual and the design, ChatGPT was better, but now Claude put in Claude Design, and they're partnering with Canva, who just did 2.0, which we haven't seen yet, but they claim is going to be next, like the real next level. So this is
keep on saying that. What about Gemini? Do you use Gemini?
Okay. So Gemini is really interesting. When Nano Banana came out, and they're still the best, and that's the image generator. Everyone said, remember there were conversations on the chats were on, okay, should we switch to Google? And Google really, it does not make sense because they're a public company. They have an excessive amount of money. I mean, you see the valuations or the amount of funding that ChatGPT, Anthropic has done, and their private companies, and they want to do IPOs eventually. Not ChatGPT, it's OpenAI. That's the parent, that's the company who owns it, who created it. And you see how much money they just, like Amazon just put, I'm going to make up a number and I'll be wrong, like a crazy another billion round of funding into, I think their previous investors into Anthropic. There's no reason Claude doesn't need the funding. Google, Gemini doesn't need the funding, and it's Google. They have all the knowledge, right? So you think they're going to be the best tool. They've created a tool that's supposed to compete with Lovable. We were talking, maybe it was Atlas. I forgot what it's called. We were talking about it a few months ago. Haven't seen much, but Google just did. You remember when ChatGPT did in I have no concept of time. Was it December? Like Code Red, because they were falling behind. I think it was after the Nano Banana release, and maybe Claude was doing some stuff. So Gemini just did an equivalent. I forgot what they called it. Google just did an equivalent of their Code Red, where they know they're getting their lunch handed to them, and they're doing their Code Red moment. We're like, okay, we're really falling behind.
Yeah.
Like to just get where everybody else is, because there's really no reason for it. So,
and they were ahead of the AI game, right? Because we had AI in our Google tools forever before we even knew what AI
and it
was.
wasn't that sophisticated. It's so that's
that was very basic.
So
I like Gemini for the user experience. Like for a very small thing, I'm into UX, but like if I'll speak to it, it will speak back. If I type to it, it will type back.
Right.
Other tools won't do that.
So the reason why I recommend, so it's really a specific for a case-by-case basis, but the reason why I recommend, let's say Google or Gemini, is if your business is really very heavy Google based and everything is, but the good part is now, let's say Cowork, it pulls in everything from Google. I mean, not everything, but it pulls in a lot. So it's no longer independent silos. You can mix them together. But
right. So people should really be trying them out. What happens in this process that you do with businesses, right? Because you said you speak about the overwhelm, and then you speak about the security.
Right. So with AI policy, we talk about embracing it, how you're getting your knowledge, and that includes how you're sharing knowledge within your firm, the daily emails that you're reading, how you're connecting what everybody's doing, how you're sharing and letting people see how the systems work together, because what's the point? Otherwise, you're not getting the efficiencies. We talk about security, confidentiality, and then we talk about the most important part. People will always say to me, the first question I get is, what do you think the first question I get is? What tool should I use? That is the first question I always get. Which tool should I use? And I'm like, that's not the right question. The question is, what are you trying to do? Now, when people started using AI, remember ChatGPT, it was a chatbot. You asked it a question, it gave you an answer. Even if you got as fancy and as thought out as saying, give me a sequence of 5 emails, I'm doing a launch of a course or a product, and you ask a question, it gives you an answer. Then people started talking about use AI in your workflow to save productivity, meaning your low value hours, things that you're doing that your time is so better well spent on a more higher revenue generating concept or product or responsibility or task. Use it for the tedious, boring stuff that anybody can do. Connect your process so that you get work done quicker. And then it became about revenue generating. And this is where most companies, I think, are starting to realize that we need to focus on, yes, look at workflows, and yes, look at the workflows that are not happening, that are costing you getting the client's business. Like if you don't get back quickly and the client spoke to 2 other companies, they just go with whoever, nobody has patience. So unless you have a relationship with them or you have a unique USP, a unique selling proposition, they're not waiting for you. But now we're talking about using AI to generate revenue. And I can only give examples from my business. So it used to be, or the chatbot piece, everybody understands. The workflow piece is, let's say I have a strategy session with a client. So generally before that strategy session, we may have had some emails, some text, some WhatsApp, a 15-minute call to see if we're the right fit and what they need and what I offer and my framework and my pricing. So we have enough of a conversation. So I take all that and I put it into whichever LLM, whichever workflow we have set up to kind of analyze all the notes, help me structure the agenda. Let me think about a few things that I really think are important, because that's the piece you have to put in. You can't just take what AI gives you and say, oh, okay, great. Now I have an agenda and let's go read. No, I mean, it gives me an agenda and it's trained by now how my brain thinks. That's the whole concept. Then we'd have our strategy session right after. Besides getting the transcript and the video, I would also take a few minutes, take some voice note and, just work through some thoughts.
Add your input into it.
Exactly. Now, when I do our strategy session, given my expertise of 25 years, what I can accomplish in an hour, just because I can identify what your business problem is, and I've seen this before, and then I think about what our firm has been researching and paying attention to and studying now. So it's not just based on old information. We constantly build onto it, and we attend seminars and we're speakers and we're panels and we're constantly learning. And then I take that. So all that information, I take that and I put it into the structure that we have for coming up with a report, So, and even when the client finishes the call, they already know what the next steps are and what they need to do and what I'm thinking, what the recommendation.
Probably come out with clarity.
What?
Out of that call, they probably come out with a lot of clarity.
Out of clarity, and they can't wait to hang up because they want to start doing stuff that I told them. It's like really funny. Right. It's really funny. And then
you're like itching to get things done.
I can't hear what?
They're like itching to get things done.
Exactly. It's like, or it's like, like when you like watch a webinar, you're like, okay, I just want to try this one thing right away. And then I'm going to go to my client call, but like, you just want to.
You got a loophole.
Right. Exactly. So then I get a draft of a report, which is structured how back in the day when I was writing reports 3-4 years ago, this would take me, I would have to go down to a company and it would be a whole process. I'm writing a report. It didn't take me 3 days to write a report anymore. Literally, it takes all my information, writes the report. I evaluate the report. I make some changes. And then when I'm happy with it, we have our PDF template that was created, what the report should look like, and it fills in the information and it adjusts it for specific topics or areas because I don't have one standard report. So, but here's the revenue generating piece. What happens is, besides all that, where I can service so many more clients, right? Because I used to have 10 clients a year. That's not an issue anymore. Took out that bottleneck because I have this workflow process. But also now what I can do is I can evaluate. We have a whole portfolio of apps and tools that we offer our clients. And what AI can do is based on the report, right? Because the report basically has been building information. Every step of the way, there's more and more information that they're getting to know about this client. In the report, it could do 2 things. It could evaluate which one of our apps might be a good fit for this client and a problem that they've identified that we don't have a solution. We don't see a good custom solution out there. We want to build it for them. So all of a sudden, I have a new revenue stream that AI has created for me.
Like an upsell.
Exactly. Now, but the other piece is what this revenue generating stream is also the concept of how, for me, I used to have 5 to 10 clients, like 15 clients a year, because for me, it's really important to get really a high level of connecting with me and the services that I offer and my knowledge and my team and my relationships, like the lovable hackathon we've done this week, and sharing resources and what we're finding is important. But I want to be able, AI enables me to literally replicate myself. And that's where the 6-week business reset challenge came about, where instead of working one-on-one with 10 clients in 6 months, I mean, this is 6 weeks, right? In 6 weeks, not 6 months. Now, based on GPTs and apps that we created through Lovable, which takes the what you would be doing in strategic work using AI, I've replicated my brain into an AI, into an app. All of a sudden, I can have 50 people. I think in our winter cohort, we had 60 people sign up. I couldn't do that in 3 years. So that's how
capacity. So you're saying your talent.
I'm saying AI is becoming a revenue generating tool where it enables you to replicate yourself. So it's no longer making your process work more smooth. It's also taking your expertise and replicating that. So instead of working with Sara Gochberg 1, there's 30 Sara Gochbergs working doing the same.
So can you sell that Sara Gochberg? Like, could she sit on my desk and answer questions?
Yes,
because
yes. So that it used to be, okay, let's build you a better team. Let's delegate. So now we're thinking the same thing. First of all, what are we delegating to AI, right? So for example, a few things that we do is my clients use Granola, which I like it. If you can access Granola, it is amazing because, for example, you're in an in-person meeting. You're not saying, oh, hold on, let me connect to Zoom. And even though we're talking, it's still on the phone. Granola, it's on your thing. You're having a conversation. It listens to you. After the meeting, it does the same thing those note takers do, but it kind of takes it a little bit more to the next step. It helps you get more organized. I just find it's a better tool if you can use it, even if you're on a Zoom and you space out.
And that's for like a real life call?
No, it works on it works on a Zoom also. I don't have my on because I don't think I need to have, I don't have it on right now for this call, but I'm saying you could put it on Zooms. You can put it on any type of recording. It works. So now, for example, first of all, when they go to a meeting, the transcript, the notes, they just go straight to through Granola to their workflow, to their personal assistant or their AI assistant. And it already uploads the information. They have, a lot of interior designers, creatives are all over the place. It helps them still be creative. And here, you have somebody, they didn't set it up. That's another thing I talk about all the time. You may be aware of AI and you need it in your business. It may not make sense for you to be the one who's actually implementing AI in your business. It may be worthwhile for you to hire somebody and have somebody who is on retainer, on maintenance, who keeps your business updated in AI, which I know we're jumping all over the place. When we talk about AI policy, for companies that have a few employees, I always recommend figure out the people who are excited about AI, are the ones coming to you with new ideas, elevate them, pay them more. Just like you have a chief technology officer, you need a chief AI officer. Invest in your AI people and the people who are interested and excited about that. And for some people, that means hiring an outside person, like a graphic design, not a graphic, an interior designer. She wants to be physically touching materials and doing that stuff. She's not interested in all that. So they're hiring somebody, and that's terrific. But back to the graphic designer, there's so many different ways. First of all, the way AI works today, there's so much they can do that they don't have to physically go to a showroom. We have a real estate app, which we're using for interior designers also, where, and design has a lot of these tools also, where it's kind of like remember when you used to work with an interior designer, they would give you fabric swatches and they would have to take you down to the showroom. Now they can generate it on AI and you really can get a sense of what something looks like. So some of them have created this tool and they're monetizing it and they're selling it to other people. They've created something and it's an app that they've created in Lovable. We have an app that we use for realtors where, when you're showing a house and it's empty, it doesn't show as well as having furniture inside it. So
right.
If this is Nano Banana, you can pick a color palette. You could pick a design. You could pick a decade. And all of a sudden, so I'm saying for an interior designer, all of a sudden, she could have so many more clients because she has this ability where a client wants to see a mock-up, we're doing mock-ups, whatever the right word is, where they want to see, a schematic and they want to see what it's going to look like. It's not such a big job. And now the thing is with AI is that, and I know I'm jumping all over the place. This is what happens when I talk. With AI, if you're using a software, right? I have clients that are property managers. They're using a software for property management. I have clients who are business brokers that are part of a bigger M&A firm, and there's a software that's provided for them. But AI helps you say, wait a minute. Okay, so do I create a separate division, and now I can manage the separate division of this secondary client that when I was me, or I had a limited staff or limited resources, I had to pick and choose. So some people will say, you know what, this is a division I could start focusing on and building because now I have all this extra resources. What AI helps you do is it helps you replicate yourself and get things quicker with speed. That's what AI does. But it's not going to help you. It's not going to change the strategy and the structure of your company. That it cannot do. You could over time pivot. But so when you're thinking about, when you do this, what your business identity and your ideal client, you either say, wow, I didn't realize this, but I have this whole other division. And oh my gosh, I didn't even realize, when you're doing this whole analysis and you see what their needs are and what your core offer should be, you could say, I just created a whole nother division. And you could either sell it to somebody because you don't want to be busy with it, or you can build it up a little bit and then sell it. Or you can say, you know what, we have this person who's been focused on this and they're really growing it. Why should I sell it? The overhead is covered. There's even if there's expenses to it, I see a way for profitability in a relatively ROI timeframe that I'm comfortable with. Or you say, you know what, I really want to go back to focusing on what I was doing, and let's 10x it. Either we can have more clients, we can offer more products or services, we can get better at what we're doing. So, and really focus.
Interesting, because you're speaking a lot about how to do more what we do.
Yeah.
And a lot of the business owners that I speak to, we want to do that better, but often the bottleneck is actually in the client acquisition. Like, people are willing to 10x their team if they just have 10 times more clients.
So that's where AI, if we're talking about marketing and AI, it's amazing. And even, for example, let's say Claude Cowork, they have all these marketing plugins, and but if you look at Claude Cowork, they have all these plugins where all of a sudden it's like you hired a team of 10 people to be your marketing team. And I know for my legal community, they have to be very careful, but there's a legal plugin in Claude Cowork that is not replacing, but is giving them the value of work that their first year associates and their, I'm having a brain freeze, but the paralegals are doing. So it's
so sad at the same time.
Right. So that's why we'll talk about this, how you have to make yourself indispensable. But what happens is that, what were we talking about? Oh yeah. So if marketing, right. So for example, what Claude, is it called Claude Design? What Anthropic just released is you can have your offer that you have, and it will create a landing page for you with like 1 or 2 prompts, and depending how customized you want it to be. You don't want it to look generic. You don't want it to look AI, but you want it to.
You're going to get the AI slop. Is it AI slop or slop AI?
I call it AI slop.
So that's where you're going to get that, right?
Exactly. But think about this. We have an app that we created not that long ago that creates a landing page for a course, or for an event, right? But now you don't need the app, because bless you, because now you don't need the app. You do, because I don't think Claude's there yet. But I'm saying, so if you have the right marketing tools, right, all of a sudden you can have your content making sure not only is it SEO, but AEO or GEO, which is generative engine optimization or AI engine optimization, just like search engine optimization. So people on an LLM are finding you. You could be advertising, which is something that we're focused on now, and we're thinking about, not for our main cohort of the 6-week business reset challenge, but maybe for our summer cohort, to be using Google ads and Facebook and attracting a whole nother audience, or using Instagram ads, right? Because all of a sudden there's all these marketing tools that can do this for you in terms of creating the content.
You use AI marketing tools to build your campaigns and build your Google ads, etc.
And not only that, but to monitor it, to launch it, to see what your stats are, to do. I mean, I don't use it that much, but when Twin came out, I was so excited, because Twin basically is an agent. So basically what I can do is, I did this. I said, here's my 6-week business reset challenge. Here's the challenge. So you see what problem I'm solving. So it analyzed what the challenge was. It identified who my ideal client is for the challenge. It went out there and it used Firecrawl. I don't know if it used Firecrawl or it did the same thing as Firecrawl. Firecrawl goes, it's the best data scrubber on the web. And it went out there and it went to LinkedIn, Instagram, social media, Facebook, Reddit, and it found conversations where people were using language that identified the problem that I was solving. Then it gives me a list of all the different particular findings that it has. It gives me a lot of contact information. If I want it, and it gives me why it found this person, what language did they have, right? And then if I wanted, it can go and send an email.
Or you can call them and use their language, or whatever.
Well, it has what their problem was. I know what their language is, so the email could be customized to their language, and it can go and start outreaching to them. And then what happens is I can get a report every hour, every day. I get a summary once. I still get a summary once a week, but I haven't utilized that yet because I'm not at a place where I want my challenge to be that big. We've gotten to the point where it could be because part of the cohort, part of my challenge is you do it as part of a cohort and a group, or you could do it yourself. So I could do it if you want to do this yourself and have some additional resources, and you have different layers of it. So I'm saying that would be a way if you have knowledge and you're monetizing it to reaching a bigger audience, which it would take me weeks to do research to find who my ideal client is that's not in my immediate community. And even
that's for someone that has clarity on their business. You first have to have the clarity on your business.
Right.
Figure out what your messaging is, what your target audience is, which you could do with AI, but you need to know what to ask for it, or you need Sara Gochberg. And then you could get this whole process to get
That's the whole point of my 6-week business reset challenge, because it gives you 6 fundamentals and then a 90-day roadmap. But even within the 6th week, you're already implementing. By week 1 and 2 and 3, you're changing your content. People have launches. By week 4 with your pricing, you're changing who you're strategizing, who you're talking, who you're going after for business. So that's why I happen to love the challenge, because it's built on strategic concepts that to me, these concepts have existed before I got on Wall Street, through my years in Wall Street, working with companies, and now through AI. Right? And look at what AI is creating, right? They're creating marketing tools because you need marketing. Marketing's not going anywhere. So
marketing is, I think, they're going to be the differentiator between at least lots and lots of tools. Yes. The ones that are going to win, the ones that are marketed. But I want to go back to a point that you sort of went by, where you said that you started building a tool that soon you're not going to need because Claude Design is going to do it for you. I don't know what that was. So this is where I'm concerned, and I think a lot of business owners will be. Let's say a team invested a lot of time in Gala, and they trained it, they taught their team how to use it, they brought you in to train it. So they spent a lot of resources in it, and then suddenly it's not relevant anymore.
Right.
So what happens now?
Right. So that's the biggest thing where we talk about, for secondary layers of tools, not the LLMs, not ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini. For all these two, whether it's Gamma, whether it's 11 Labs, which is recording your voice, whether for HeyGen that creates your clones, whether it's Twin, even I don't use it so much anymore. What happens is these LLMs recognize this is a great concept. We're going to go.
They do it.
And then they do it. So sometimes the LLMs are buying companies, but it's so much easier for them to look at what you did and just copy it and create it in-house.
And they use AI to build it now as well. So
exactly. It's a looking at something. They're saying it's even like, I know we have tools where you can go to a website and I can get all the infrastructure behind it, and I can get what you're using and your connectors, and basically I can get your whole website built plan, because there's tools that do this. They analyze it and they can
just recreate it in 5 minutes.
Exactly, right. Which obviously you're not allowed to. You're stealing, you're copying, but you get a sense of when
I'm not saying you should do it, but as a business owner, that's concerning because
it's legal to do it. These websites are legal. Now, obviously, you can go take Coke's website and recreate it and just put on whatever the name of your soda is, because that's copy. You can't do that, but you can see the structure and the thought process and the conversion process.
Okay, but that's Coke, because Coke has a physical product. What if someone, like we touched on, a SaaS product, or someone's a consultant? I could say, make me a bot that things like Sara Gochberg, maybe. You know what I mean?
Right. So because they have to have it set up with my framework and my thinking. So if they would go look at, if they took the 6-week reset challenge and they see my, if they read my email, if they do a scrub on my emails, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, where I just like to share what I'm doing, on where I am on chats, where I am speaking at events, on YouTube, things that I've been recorded like this, they can replicate. That's a risk we take. But I approach business generally. We're not the size of an LLM. We're not the size of Google or Gemini. You know, we should be so fortunate that we built something that our exit strategy is somebody wants to buy us for millions and millions of dollars, right? So I approach business from a sense of abundance, where there's enough business for everybody, there's enough clients out there. I don't lose sleep about, I mean, I think about competition, or I think about competition within my specific niche or my specific focus and my ideal client. And that's something we talk about in the challenge.
No one could really replicate you.
What?
No one could really replicate you.
Right. No, that's the thing. Even like when I'm working on an email and I'm using Cowork and I've set, and it has my voice and it has my style and it has my template and it knows, I still spend time putting my tweaks in because it still doesn't get me 1,000%. And those little tweaks are where the value added is, where I'm creating my brand again. I'm differentiating myself. So I feel like, you know, so back to your question. So I invested all this time in Gamma, right? Now we have a tool. This is a perfect example. People ask me how big my firm is. We are a very lean firm because we're still struggling to find the right word, where we want to be a multi-million dollar company with a very lean staff. Now, why can I do that? AI, and I have affiliates. So a big part of my company, which you hear people talk to me about, is my AI business affiliate group. And so, for example, they have a tool, a dashboard, which incorporates probably close to 100 tools, which is a very economical option for small business owners because it's a much smaller monthly investment. It's about 90, it's 100, right now at the stage that it's in, it's $100 a month. They're working on the next, which is supposed to be amazing, which I think the fee will go up slightly. But for $100 a month, you have access to the latest Opus 4.7, which is Claude. I think Chat is 5.4. You have access to a lot of different tools, whether it's for image creation, video creation, just so many different things that a small business owner would need, that it's on one dashboard, and it has Gamma. So when they put Gamma in it, I think the new version, this will take care of this problem. This is at the earlier level. I have all this historical assets, and like you say, it built in Gamma and it knows me. And to bring all that knowledge base and to recreate it, it's not worth it for me. I'm just keeping my Gamma subscription, right? And now the good thing also, let's say with Gamma, if I'm not really doing a lot of like pitches or presentations, I take off the paid plan and I keep it as free. It doesn't. It does most tools.
Lose your information.
Most tools, even for LLMs, you should never be an annual subscription. You should be a monthly subscription. Given the pace where AI is today, why would you commit today on April 21st that March 1st, you want to be stuck in these relationships and these expenses? When I use HeyGen, when I use Suno, which is just fun for music creation, I use it from Lava Malka Challenge. I have to mention that. I'm the accidental founder of Lava Malka Challenge, and we encourage small business owners. I'm so confused. We encourage people to watch from Lava Malka. And it's really, I started accidentally and it became a global initiative. It is totally by word of mouth, organic. So why am I telling you about that? I started telling you about that.
About Suno, you said you use Suno for music.
Oh yes, so we need music. When you have like these type of initiatives, you need music. So I use Suno for that. So that's really, really like I only turn it on. It's
even want to take this a step forward. So you said, okay, so once you invest in a certain tool, you might want to stay with it because it has your context and it has your memory. But then what about?
I want to say one piece. Now you can just download your assets, your knowledge base, and you upload it into the new tool. Exactly. Like Claude, I share with my community a prompt that you basically run this prompt, you put it in ChatGPT, or I don't know if you run, I think you run it in ChatGPT, it extracts all your knowledge. But even before I was doing that, I would say to ChatGPT, I'd like to create a knowledge base. Give me a knowledge base, and PDF is most of the time the best way to transfer data from one source.
Even there, you said earlier that Claude will never know you like ChatGPT. Like I've taken a project that I developed in Claude and I moved it into ChatGPT into a certain flow I had running. Right. It's not going to get it the same way. It's like a knowledge transfer with your people. Like
it's not perfect, but it's the value of using the, right. So that's why when everyone was going crazy about Nano Banana, I'm like, we're not switching to Gemini. I'm not telling my clients to, but we did make one distinction. We were saying that ChatGPT is going to be personal and Gemini might be the enterprise one. Right now, Claude is the enterprise one. I want to see when Google finishes this red alert or whatever. I forgot what they call it.
Let's see what happens. Yeah, it
call
does some
alert.
nice thing, but it's
Right,
not
it does.
overall.
Right.
But
So
okay, I do want to take it a step forward though. So we have all these like big players in the market, right? We said Claude dominates and ChatGPT dominates and a few other ones. And then you have all these new startups coming out every single day of people that could suddenly build their dream product that they couldn't do before, right? There's suddenly like all these things popping out, but then like tomorrow someone could just build it again.
Right.
All their knowledge, they could just like take it over.
Right.
So where's this
like
gonna go?
when we vibe code apps, I don't really care if you heard that we have a real estate app that could create a room for you and you go to Lovable and you go vibe code it. I don't care. I feel like there's enough business out there for what I do. There's just infinite. So like, and guess what? It's not such a big investment. That's the part that when you used to
take a risk.
Right. When you used to build and also build your, and I do two things. We do an MVP, your minimum viable product. You think about your unique selling proposition. And I advise my clients, don't think of something that no one else thought of. On the contrary, the more saturated the market is, you don't have to create a market.
It's just people who want it.
That means there's people that want it.
Clients.
You just have to have a USP, a unique selling proposition there that people are going to buy it from you and make sure you have a good marketing strategy. And that's where a lot of these tools come in.
No one's doing it. There might be a reason for it.
So I think about stuff like loafers, whatever they're called, fluffer,
Yeah.
I mean, they created a market for it. Crocs created
a lot more marketing effort.
Right. But I'm saying, right. So why do that? Why create something that you have to educate an audience before you can even sell it? That starts you at a different place. You have to prove versus if you're going into a saturated market, if you have something unique about you and you don't need to get every buyer, then there's an opportunity for you. And then you have to figure out connecting with that buyer. And that's where using AI comes in, where there's these sites where you can understand who your ideal client is. You can get the customer sentiment. You can get the language they speak in. We talk a lot about, because Amazon doesn't let themselves be scraped and there were lawsuits Amazon filed. You can extract from book reviews, like 3-4 book reviews that rated 3 or 4 book reviews, 3 or 4 books on that your ideal client would be reading or on the topic. Like if I would do about strategy, right? Strategy books for small business owners and entrepreneurs who've been in business for X amount of years. And I look at the 3 to 4, the comments that are rated 3 and 4, because 1 is people who are just mean, 5 are just your best friends and your family. You scrape that data, you run it through AI, you identify how they talk about the problem, you see if the problem you're solving is really the problem they have. You understand what their objections are so you can address them, because that's the whole thing with objections. You address them before they could. So you kind of solve that problem, while they'll say, well, I do need your product, but I'm not buying it because X, Y, and Z. But there's other sites that you can go to, or I think like Reddit has a Chrome extension you can put in and it can scrape Reddit. And you can gather so much data for your marketing that you would have to hire a firm to do this for you for 6 months. So here you can get to market very quickly. It's not a huge financial investment.
Wait, so then you take that information and market yourself because you know what, or other consultants because you know what people want.
You know where you're going. Yeah. And that's why people, if you're really doing a lot of that, use Perplexity Computer. I think it's $100, but you use it for a month. You get all your research information. You do some of that other stuff. You feed that all into your LLM. And all of a sudden, it's like you've worked 6 months to understand the brain of your ideal client, what their problem is, how they speak about it, what the demographics are, what keeps them up at night. They're like, this is what they're worried about, because it's not enough to know their demographics. You need to know what they're thinking, what they're feeling.
What's their problem?
And also what gives them joy, and where do they like to go, and like where's their next vacation. And I mean, I know it's
to ask these questions that you're asking.
So this is part of what we do. But I'm saying, so on one hand, yes, AI is a big threat because everybody could do what you're doing technically. A lot of information is out there. They can replicate you, but there's so many. Like when people ask me if you ask me the word for AI, my word is opportunity. there's so much opportunity. It's overwhelming. That's my overwhelm. There's so much I want to do.
So much.
And like, I'm one person and I have a team, but still, like, there's only, like, I can make a huge investment and hire 10 people now and get like 30 things that I want to get done yesterday. And I'm just not doing that, because it's also part of what I tell people as a strategic business advisor, is building the business you want to have. I've helped M&As for billion-dollar transactions. I built big companies. That's not who I want to be That's not who I want to be today. So I'm building a business that aligns with what I want, the dream business that I always wanted to have on my terms. So that's why I have to remind myself sometimes, like, you don't want to be growing this quick. You don't want to be doing this because you don't want to go back to your investment banking days, which I loved it. It's everything you read about and see in the movies, but that's not the lifestyle. It's not aligned with who I am right now. So I will tell people like this: when you think about tools, think about why you're using a tool, what makes the most sense for your business, which tools you should be using first, how much are you investing? I don't just mean financially, but like bringing it into your system and getting your team up to date, because there may be something new in a short amount of time. And even like, I didn't jump into Claude until probably, we were talking about it and we started talking about how the writing has improved, but I didn't jump to Claude till March really. And like, I didn't upgrade my plan probably till April, when I came back from break, where I'm like, okay, I really see what they're doing and I'm making that switch. Now, I will tell you, when I'm doing like copy and Claude's not getting it, I'll still go back to ChatGPT and they just get it. Even though I've loaded everything properly into Claude, they don't. That's the biggest issue with AI. It's memory and context. At a certain point, that memory gets tired. And it doesn't matter what skills, what you've built in, it's not perfect. And also context. At a certain point, they say, sorry, we're done here. And that's why for people building Lovable now has this feature. I don't know how long ago they added it, where you have knowledge, you put knowledge about what you're building and you can keep enhancing it and adding to it. So that's something they always think about. And sometimes you even could put a code word to refer to knowledge, where you want to remind them, please refer to my knowledge base. So AI is learning from like the process and they're trying to improve it also.
Right. So then there's like the other end of things, right? You described like all the opportunity we could do with AI.
Right.
I've spoken to lots of business owners, and here we're going to start wrapping up, where they wanted to integrate AI into their business and they brought on consultants and process and strategies, but they themselves were resistant to using AI. Have you seen that?
I have. And that's why, if you remember when we talked about AI policy, the first thing I said is, you as the owner, whether it's you for yourself or a team, you have to embrace it. You have to make that commitment. And what you also have to do is you have to let the people know that you've embraced it and that you support this and you're dedicating time and money. And this is an important part of what you're doing, that you working for me need to be spending time with each week and just reporting about it. But I'm also seeing a lot where the CEO is the visionary, right? So they want to do what I want to do. Hire 10 people. Let's get everything AI. Let's try every tool. We'll experiment. Let's have a whole division just figuring out. And then you have the money people who say, slow down a minute. And you have the operations people who say, wait a minute, integrating this is going to compromise this process that we've always done. And there's security. You have your compliance person saying there's security issues. So that's where I see in a bigger company the friction.
Where they're going too fast.
Where you have the CEO who's the visionary, right? He's the CEO.
Visionary wines, but that we always had.
Right. And then now we're having it, right? And now we're having it in AI, where you have the financial, the security, the operations person who says, wait a minute, this doesn't actually make sense. Let's think it through, versus walking in and the next day at the next meeting, a Monday meeting, the CEO says, I've made sure you all have access to Claude now. We've signed up everybody. And you all have, not only do you not have the $20 plan, you have the $200 plan, because I want you, but when CEOs,
but they'll still not use it.
Well, that's why you need to have a policy in place where there is shared knowledge, where there's shared documentation where people can access, whether it's best prompts or the processes or the workflows. There has to be meetings where people are demonstrating what they're using AI for. I mean, it's not a good example, but when I worked on Wall Street, we always had to take discrimination workshops, right? And the more senior you got, the more type of courses you had to take, and you had to do more type of things, and you had to get your hours in. You have to build in, I'm not comparing discrimination to utilizing AI at all. I'm just trying to give an example of mandatory training that you had to do. Where if this is mandatory in how your part of your day-to-day job is, then it becomes part of the company. But back to the reluctance of the CEO, the only way to get around that is when a CEO sees what they're, not the only way, what I found is when a business owner sees what their competitor is doing with AI, that lights a fire, because they're thinking all the questions you've been asking me about competition, right? If my competitor is doing this, that means probably everyone else is also doing it, and I'm the only one not doing it. And I know enough. I read the journal. I read this. I'm online, or this. I'm in on the weekends, wherever you're hanging out, and people are talking about AI, and it's a conversation. So I know, like, I'm hesitant, but if I don't do anything, I'm burying my head in the sand, and my business and all the people who rely on me, they won't be a business anymore. So I find that is a very powerful thing when a business owner sees, and that's why it's very important that if you're a solo entrepreneur or you're a big company, you have your people that you're talking to, you're sharing knowledge. I don't worry about competition. Like, I share a lot of knowledge with my clients that in a way they're like, we don't need Sarah. I'll try to figure this out with an LLM because, I could just take her email and try to do that, what she talks about and analyze. But the point is that, so I'm a very big believer. Our firm leads with value. We share a lot of knowledge. Like the Lovable Hackathon was a big commitment on our part. Lovable supplied the credit, but it still was a big time commitment. It took time out of our firm and what we've been working on. So the point is that we lead with value, and I will always lead with value, but you need to be on a chat with other solo entrepreneurs talking about AI that are specific to your industry, even if it's not specific to your industry. If for whatever reason you feel they're aligned with you and they match, like, don't just be in your own head. If a lot of solo entrepreneurs and startups, right, they're very lean, they're doing their thing, have it within your company, within your team, but also have external sources to get information. Be on LinkedIn and see who's talking about it in a way that you understand, and that where you're at in your business. Knowledge. So
really absorb the information and stay on your game when it comes to what's new.
Yeah, you know what? The other thing I tell people is with this whole overwhelm thing is, don't jump in to adapt. Just be aware. Like, this is some of the things we talk about. 20 minutes a day or every other day. It's not that you necessarily, there are certain things that come out and we say, wait a minute, we're just dedicating a day. Like, unless there's emergencies, we really need to dig deep into this, and we need to see how we're implementing it, or 2 hours. But I'm saying,
I'm waiting, Sarah. I'm waiting for your newsletter with the daily updates, because I feel like you filter everything and you bring out what's really important for business.
That's my weekly email, and I try to use it through the lens of what I focus on.
Right. Okay, I hear that. Right.
And it's a little bit wide because I focus on strategy. I focus on AI. I try to share business. I try to share, just
how can people sign up to your newsletter?
So it's they can go to our website, either saragochberg.com or the SBG Advisory or SBG Advisory. I want to leave you with this story, because you're listening to me and you think, oh my gosh, besides that she's not so clear on, the tech part, the security part, and I tell you straight out, I am not telling anybody I'm telling everybody, I can't give you an answer on that. I have someone who's responsible for it. I am aware of it. I make the assumption that any access I make the assumption there is nothing I have that AI doesn't know, even with all the safeguards and the securities, and even where certain things we're not connecting and we're breaking up the workflow and we're putting in a manual piece so we have a higher level of protection. I make the assumption that nothing.
You know more than a lot of people about the press.
What?
You know more than many people listening.
But I'm saying I make the assumption, really, whatever safeguards, or we delude ourselves. Like I say, I don't have Claude on my phone. It's in my, everything else is connected. My phone, it's there. But wait, I was going to say something. What you asked me, I do this all the time. I get off tangents.
You had a story.
Oh yeah. So everyone's listening, thinking, oh my God, she knows so much about AI, and here she's not a techie, she's not a coder. So when I set up my email domain, at Sarah at sbgadvisory.com. I did it a while ago. I didn't have a website. In those days, there was no vibe coding. Vibe coding means the same way I tell a developer, this is what I want my site to be, and I tell the web designer, and I tell the content, the copywriter, I just talked to a tool, which is Lovable. I mean, I happen to build in Claude, and then regular Claude, not code. I build in Claude, I bring it into Lovable, but you just vibe code and tell it what you want, right? So I am not techie. So I never created a website because I couldn't see spending good money on a website. I didn't feel like I needed it. I'm working, we have our philosophy is we don't want to be this huge firm. I have my legacy clients from Wall Street. I have my other new clients. I've pivoted a lot from big companies to entrepreneur startups. And I'm like, it would be nice to have a website. And I would tell all my clients, you must have a website, right? I'm the shoemaker. But I just didn't want to spend the money and the time. And I've seen websites. I didn't love what people were doing.
A real investment, or it was a real investment.
It was an investment. So I had this domain, right? Now we created in Lovable a few different websites. And what happened was when we have my first website, which is more our testimonial website, Sara Gochberg, and then I wanted my real comprehensive business website, and it's sbgadvisory.com. And I go to buy a domain and it says it's taken. And I'm like, bummer. I was the one who owned the domain. So I bought another domain, the SBG Advisory, because if you think I remember from 2 years ago, if you think
you bought it.
So wait, then I had an issue with something. So I reached out to my tech guy. And he said, well, since you own the domain and your website, I said, my website, we were laughing so hard. This is why I hire people, because this is not
This is real life.
But I want to tell you something. When I talk about the different sites or apps, I tell this to people all the time. Make sure you're putting information there that they can find information about you, your product, your services. If they know about it already, so they won't read it. If they know about you a little bit and they want to find out more, nobody's going to say, why are you self-promoting there as well? I mean, obviously, you have, even on all my apps that are part of the 6-week business reset challenge, it's all part of a one container, so to speak, but there's still a little bit because some of them I sell, you can have, I could technically monetize and sell separately, or I could always just build that in. But I'm saying,
so right. We see things all the time. And we're like, if I only knew who put out this memo that went viral, or if I only knew who made this beautiful article, there's no name on it. This trail of information and content and apps now.
So I feel like, make sure don't make the whole content about who you are, because they're going to you not for who they want, the content, not you. And then when they like your content, that's what a lead magnet is. They like your content. Then all of a sudden they are interested in finding out more about you. But initially it's like your content is what's going to drive the attention. And then you say, oh, I like the content. Let me see what this person said. And then whenever you see somebody like Ruben Hassid, right? We're all obsessed with him now. You see anything that says his name on it, you stop and you read it, so that's where you want to build to. But anything you're putting out there, make sure there's enough information. At least they know which website or an email, how they can connect with you, because that's the work.
How could people connect with you?
Okay. So either they can reach me on LinkedIn. It's Sara Gochberg. They can go to any of my multiple websites, Sara Gochberg, which is SaraGochberg. There's no H in Sarah, and Gochberg. What?
I'll also put links in the description.
Oh, okay. And Gochberg is with the C, or the SBG Advisory, or SBG Advisory.
And now you know the story behind it.
Yes. And I always tell that story. I'll tell you one other funny AI story. When we were doing the Lovable Hackathon, I first picked April 15th, not thinking a lot of people were out for 2 weeks and it's really hard the first week coming back to dedicate a day, and not thinking that it's tax day, that for some people there are implications. And I don't just mean accounting professionals. So we moved the date to April 20th. And somewhere in all these emails back and forth, somewhere in their system, they had it as April whatever, 15th. And then I get an email when I come back at April 9th. I saw it when I came back on Monday. And then it's saying, like, on April 16th, I got an email, okay, the credits are no longer applicable. They're used. No, meaning, I hope you had a great event. Your credits were used. Please send us pictures. So this is Thursday evening. I am panicking. It's probably like 12 at night.
Monday.
And I'm like, this will be so embarrassing, even though people know me long enough. But I'm like, we're also on the verge of launching the next cohort of the 6-week business reset challenge. This is like not what I need. This is like, I just want to crawl under the table. And I said, you know what? Everything is from Hashem. So it doesn't matter. And, this one thing we didn't talk about. Like, I have a very big belief in flexing my emunah muscles and my bitachon muscles. And we didn't talk about this at all. But I said, you know what? Why? I was stressed. But I said, remember, it's all from Hashem. Like, even if I have the best lovable hackathon that goes viral, Hashem could decide it doesn't mean that's what translates into my parnasa. And I keep saying this one big line that comes into my house, right? And there's many how it comes in, but I was flustered. I'm not gonna lie. So I try to be diplomatic, and I wrote an email.
You're like frustrated, but you're working on it and you're flexing your muscles.
It's 12 o'clock at night. I'm stressed. And so like I have different email addresses, and I wrote, so the first one I just shot off to that email, like, oh my God, help. And then I'm like, okay, let's take a deep breath. We have another email address. Let's go write a more diplomatic email. I go to ChatGPT and I write it. And part of what I wrote in both emails was, I need to speak to a real person, not AI answering these emails. So I get a response. I'm so-and-so, I'm real, I'm not AI. Stuff. When we switched it to April 20th, I didn't switch the date. I was going on, they have, I think it's, what is it, Descript? What do they have it? Where you go on a channel and like, I was trying to get on it to reach a lovable person. I couldn't get anyone because their login, what you have to prove you're a human.
Everything always goes wrong when it's urgent.
Right. But I was when I got his email, first of all, they responded like pretty early Friday and like, don't worry, we got you, we'll fix this.
Wow.
But like, because I'm like, okay,
I would be like crying.
I was going to screenshot the emails and send it to everybody. It's not me. I didn't mess up. But that was like the funniest thing where it was like, no, I'm so sorry. I'm human. I messed up. I have to say, working with Lovable has been incredible. They gave us, I think it's almost 30 days of access to the credits that we gave people. They've increased our credits to 200 credits. And now, by the way, if you're seeing this, depending when you're seeing
amazing customer support.
Well, so it's a little bit slow. And obviously, since I'm a paid user and I'm a high user, I think I convince myself, I delude myself that I get a little bit of priority. I know being paid, which is, I'll leave you with one more thing. I have so much to share. If you're using a tool a lot, use the paid version. And I know there's a lot of conversation now, how to save credits, and don't use Opus 4.7 extended thinking. If you're doing real work,
it makes such a difference.
You know what? I reframe it this way. If I was hiring people to do this, do you know how much money I would be spending a week or a month? So I'm paying $100, $200. I mean, it's like a joke. It's what it would cost me to buy them dinner for working late at night for one person. So like, I mean, in my banking background. So it's like if you're using a tool more than 3 times a week, you should really be looking at the paid version. You have better access to the features. You have more memory, more context, more accessibility. You just get more out of it. So like, that's why I'm saying, like when I'm doing presentations, I turn on Gamma, and the plans that they have, the first tier are pretty good in most tools. So just something to think about when you're thinking about what tools to use and you're deciding you're using a tool. Try it for a month. When you first try a tool, don't try paid. I mean, see if it works for you. See, like some people have looked like there's a whole big discussion that we're having where you think everybody's talking about Claude Cowork and implementing Claude Cowork, right? And we're all getting overwhelmed. We're falling behind. Do you know how many people have looked at Claude Cowork and said, you know what, it's too complicated. I'll just wait another 6 months till, remember how ChatGPT was a little complex and we got into it and we learned how to use it really easy. And they put it, and that's why I didn't start using Claude Cowork right away.
For so many business owners, it's worth waiting for the experts like you to get educated, put out content on how to use it the right way, learn the best practices, and then all of us could take it on.
And I want to tell you something, even for myself, it used to be, you wanted to be first to market. You wanted to show, you knew about the latest, you're showing how to use it, you're incorporating it. I take a step back. Let's say here's a perfect example. Canva 2.0, Claude Design. I could have spent time Friday exploring it, trying it out. Today is Tuesday. Do you know how many articles I've seen that have done deep analysis of it?
You spent the whole weekend and now you come and read it.
So I'm not taking their content and replicating it like me, like my email that's going out today or tomorrow. I'm telling people, this is the best resource for Claude Cowork today. I may have a different resource in a month from now, but I'm saying I'm not even bothered trying to do a review when there's so many people who are better at it and doing it versus 2 years ago, people weren't doing this. So then I was doing these type of stuff. Now I'm doing what I tell my clients to do. I just take a step back. I work on the stuff that I'm doing.
But you're curating this content. That's also something, right? Like you read 5, 10 reviews and then you're telling me, here's the one that's helpful.
But I want to tell you something also. If I read a review that's really good and it's from a trusted source, I no longer have to read 3 or 4. I'll skim it for a second and then I won't even read it. Like I have a really good sense of what Canva 2.0 is and what Claude Design is now. I'm good. Let me wait till people start really implementing it and seeing the design.
What's actually happening.
Let me see the output. Let me see the workflow. Let me see the process. I'm not an AI integrator. I tell people that all the time. I'm an AI strategist. I'm telling you, hopefully I'm helping you through this conversation, how to bring AI into your business in a way that is going to help you grow your business, drive productivity. I haven't figured for myself to work less. I'm actually, my family, like I'm denying it. I never said it. I am working more than ever. I am not getting enough sleep because I am just part of AI. I think there's some neurological dopamine, it fires you up. And even when you stop working, you can't stop thinking about what you created.
It's addictive.
It's addictive where you see, like when you're using, right? If you have been spending a week on Canva creating a landing page and you can use Anthropic design, especially if you're a creative and you create something, you just want to do the next piece of it. And you want to say, oh my God, if this is a design, let me get the copy. Let me go to Lovable.
And it's just going to be 15 more minutes and 15 more minutes. And then it's like the morning.
It's crazy. Okay. Well, we could keep talking.
Yeah.
We have to do a
Sarah,
second.
let's finish up. But can you, if there's a business that's been using lots of AI, but they don't feel like it's getting them anywhere, what are 3 things they could do now to really have AI make a difference in their life and business?
Okay. Stop using so many tools. That's my first thing. Focus on one tool. Get to know it really well. I don't even care if you stay in ChatGPT. I'm not getting paid. I mean, do I have a link for Whisper? Just Whisperflow is amazing, by the way. Typing is what slows us down with using AI. Whisperflow, you talk all the time. You don't have to type. Like some tools have like a microphone on it and you can talk into. But Whisperflow, especially on the play pad, it gets to know you. It's like your personal assistant. It organizes how you talk. It makes the list, and that's what it feeds to the LLM. But
that would be one of the first tools you tell
no,
people to use.
No. But I tell everybody, you need a note taker, because the ability to have a note taker and get your information right. When you have a note taker, it gets your information, it organizes it, it gives it in a format that you can take it and put it in the next stage of your workflow. It can analyze. Right. It's a game changer. I'm just saying Whisperflow is amazing. The free version is only like $2,000 a week or a month. So for I'm not spending people's money, but you have to just figure out what a tool stack is costing you a month versus an employee. It's like, there's not even a question.
Hire an employee. So these are the tools you'll tell them to start with. Note taker.
You need an LLM. Make sure you're spending time how to use an LLM properly.
When you say LM, you're meaning a chat, right? Like
Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity. I don't care if you're using Gemini. I don't care if you're using Grok. Grok is great for sentiment, by the way, because it's Twitter. It's like what everybody's talking about this moment. So you need a really good LLM. That's a basic. I mean, everybody needs, I think a note taker is a game changer. I just like Whisperflow because it makes what you do quicker. Instead of typing, you're talking. Everybody should be having some type of a CRM, a customer relationship management system. Everybody, I'm a very big believer in email marketing. I know people say email marketing, WhatsApp status. I know WhatsApp status is very direct, but email marketing the numbers don't lie. I use WhatsApp status a lot, but email marketing, you're nurturing a relationship so that if somebody actually reads your email or scans it, when they need what you offer, they don't think, they're like, oh, of course, Ahuva. I know she doesn't. I know she deals with the infrastructure. I know she helps businesses that are all messed up get operationally on track. And I know she helps them figure out how to grow their business and look at systems and process. And she understands SaaS and she understands UX and UI, and she gets all that. Like you created that through your emails and your LinkedIn presence. So I'm a very big believer in email marketing. For me, like I say, we use Gamma. I use Lovable is incredible. If you want to vibe code, do I believe Lovable? I think Lovable is aware of their risks and they're really focused on it, that they could be replaced, because now vibe coding is so common, even coding.
Let's say I'm a business owner. I have a retail company, I don't know, children's clothes, flowers, whatever. 20 employees, 2 branches, right? What are 3 things I should do now or I should plan to do now to make sure that we're using AI to grow our business?
Okay, so you definitely need to have your LLM to understand your business, to understand your workflow.
And again, when you say LLM, you mean like ChatGPT, Claude.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You need to have it that it's part of the brain of your business, so that it works on every part of it. So that even if you're when you're doing your marketing, right, it could create your. And I'm not saying ChatGPT, and I'm not a design person. It could create your description of your products. It could do the
So
pictures.
one tool that gets to know you, and you're using that for questions, and the whole team's using it globally, and it gets to know your company.
Right.
That's the first thing.
But then you need an industry-specific tool, right? You have to figure out what people in your industry are using. So if you're a florist, you have to think about even your workflow. Here's what I do. I look at the workflow, right? This is what we do in week 4. We look at your workflow and we say, this is what you're doing. Where would I put AI in that is going to generate more revenue for me and speed up my workflow and maybe make my expenses, my overhead spread out better, that I'm not spending as much because of X, Y, and Z. So
okay, so you're looking at your workflows, you're trying to see where you're busy but not creative, and even asking AI for ideas for your industry,
right,
where it can help you.
right.
And
So
what would be the third thing?
So that's the thing. If your LLM knows you, it could evaluate your business processes. It could evaluate your products. It can evaluate how you're selling, how you're uploading. What AI can help you do is also the workflow, right? From the concept of you have something to sell to how it gets to the customer. There's many different
use
steps.
AI to evaluate what you're already doing
and do
and
it
how
better.
you can do it better, and we can use AI in your current workflow.
Right. But I'm saying, when you think about this, right? If you're selling clothing online, there's a whole process, right? How it gets to, right now, this is not something, I don't do retail. This is not something I know, but I know that people are laying in AI. I mean, they're laying in AI to create products. They're laying in AI to design the products. They're laying in AI to do the market research and evaluate what the trends are, right? If you're a florist, right? And you want to be doing the latest, you want to see what the trends are, and you want to see which flower, or even for your purchasing, how to bring down your expenses, where you're sourcing your flowers from. If you're in retail and you have inventory and storage, it helps you manage your inventory systems, right?
Right. Just really so many places you could use it to value what you're doing, get information, and optimize it.
Even you can use, I mean, this is a basic thing. If you're a florist, and my clients do this, we use AI to figure out what type of services and offers and plans and audiences you didn't think about that you can now service. Okay, so now you've identified.
It's never ending.
It's never ending.
Never ending.
You've identified a market. You figure out what the best product is for them. You figure out how to price it. You figure out how to market it. Then you figure out, how am I delivering it, right? If you're a florist, you're limited, right? And you figure out even efficiencies. You figure out your delivery schedules. Now, there are tools that do a lot of this. This is what I talked about, softwares. If you're, I'm not a florist, I don't know, but there are, I know when I in college, when I ran this is probably one of my first small business experiences, where I ran a party rental company. And part of it was figuring out the routes. Oh my God, I worked through college. My first small experience was my mother, who was ahead of her time, and she worked for, she's my creative. She worked for a marketing agency and then started her own agency. But I have a lot of women in my life who are entrepreneurs, startups. My mother-in-law, she was
we have to have a chapter just about that.
Yes, so I'm saying, but the point is that, how did we get onto this conversation? I don't know. Oh, so
use AI for your industry.
Even figuring out how to manage, like you give AI your whole business and you say, AI, where can AI be put in my business to make me more money, save me time, cut my expenses? That's what AI is. It's your now. The thing is, so somebody's going to go and do that. But if you're not a strategist, you're missing that 20%, and you're missing the evaluation. Because remember, AI likes to make you feel good. So if you say, oh, I think I like that idea, they say, you are brilliant, Ahuva. That is the best thing that anyone's come up with. And they forget about their 3 other ideas.
This is a winner idea. And then the next idea, this is the winner idea. And,
and then all of a sudden they forget. And they'll say, so a lot of times I'll say to AI, like, what's your summary of, could you rank these? Or what am I not thinking of? Or like, I don't like to use it.
Tricks. There's a lot of tricks to do.
Saying, like, really, the best thing to do is, because we're being very generic and very general, make sure your LLM knows you, and then say, this is my business. Here's where it's at. Here are my goals. We actually have a tool. It's an evaluator tool where we look at business ideas, and we go through, I think it's 14 different principles of business, anywhere from Porter's analysis, which is about competition, your SWOT analysis, your unique selling proposition, your market, your financials, your cost, and this is all done by AI. It is based on, so Is AI going to give you all 14 if you sat down with it? It may give you 300 different systems.
Right. How do you choose the 14? That's where the human brain comes in.
There's a lot of that. So I would tell people, just forget about which 3 tools. Look at your LLM. Let them get to know your business really, really, really well, and let them do an analysis of your whole business. Say, and you give it a role, and you say, you are a strategic business advisor like McKinsey, blah, blah, blah. You can give them a name of a person, and you say, and you are an expert in delivery, and you're an expert in retail, and you're an expert in this, and you're an expert in, and you give them, you have as many experts as you want. Like, you can have it be your board. You could have it be your board and say, we're doing, and say, I have a board that's made of every type of expert I would need to run to build a startup, and do, but then you get so much information. It's overwhelming. But so that's one thing. But I really feel like a note taker is helpful. You should have an email service provider. Project management is a big thing, which I am terrible about, because when I started using them, I was like, oh, these are so complicated. And my team is really don't like that I still don't follow the rules. I don't like that. I mean, there's so many little tools that I use. Like if you're doing a lot of marketing, then like HeyGen's a great tool to create a clone of you so that you have real content out there. If you're the brand, like my HeyGen clone, which I used a year ago, last summer, I don't do it. So like that's something that's on my to-do list to really start doing that again for marketing. But I'm saying first focus on having an LLM that really understands you. That's the brain of your business. And I would say a note taker. And I would say, whatever you do, build an email list, even if you're sending out an email once a month. It's just a way to stay connected, because on WhatsApp status, if someone's not looking at your status, not that everybody goes to every email anymore. My email is overwhelmed. Even though I use AI to manage it, it's not even helping. I know I should probably do some more stuff to make it now with all these new tools and features that have come out. But the bottom line is, you want the LLM. That was the whole concept of ChatGPT. It was your brain. It knew everything about you. It was your personal advisor. So that's what I would tell people to start with.
Wow, Sara, you're such a wealth of information.
Thank you for the opportunity.